Now, there's another class of analgesics called opiates. Okay, opiates are a class of compounds that originally were derived from the opium poppy. That's a flower, from the seed pod of the opium poppy. And so these particular pain relieving drugs don't work on the chemical messaging system like the analgesics that we just talked about, but rather they work on nerve cells. Okay, the drugs that are derived from the opium poppy are interact with the nerve cell to, rather than they relieve pain by increasing the euphoric feeling that people have. Okay, and in that way it rechannels feelings and it reduces pain that way. Okay, and so the way they work is that they have what's called the different opiates have a common pharmacophore. A pharmacophore is the part of the drug that has a similar three-dimensional structure to whatever natural substrate or hormone it's blocking. Okay, in the case of these particular drugs that work on the brain, they are going into nerve receptors where a neurotransmitter would normally go. Okay, and so if you have certain feelings, your body would give off the neurotransmitters to give the various feelings. And this way, you're artificially putting essentially neurotransmitters into your brain and sending signals that are artificial. And so anyway, these particular drugs, as it turns out, have an active area called a pharmacophore, which is the 3D shape similar to the natural substrate. Okay, and so if this were, say, a nerve cell membrane with a receptor site on it, and you have your little, what would normally be your natural substrate, say your neurotransmitter, it would fit into the enzyme at this place, or this receptor site, not necessarily an enzyme, it would be the receptor site that would then channel the message on along that nerve to the next nerve, etc., etc. Well, the drug, or you could have a hormone acting as a drug, would have the same kind of puzzle piece matching up as the natural substance, say neurotransmitter. The back half of the molecule doesn't have to look the same. It's just the part that's actually interacting in what's called the receptor site or the active site of the receiving end of the message. Okay, so the pharmacophore then would be like this part of it where it matches up, this part right here. Okay, and so there's a lot of effort that goes into understanding natural mechanisms, natural shapes of natural chemical messengers in the body, neurotransmitters, other chemical messaging, so that a drug can be synthesized or engineered to have the same shape. So an example of an opiate, probably that you're already familiar with, is morphine. Morphine originally was derived from the opium poppy. It's also synthesized artificially. But the thing about morphine is it's a very complicated structure. The whole structure is very, very complicated, and the whole structure isn't really necessary to have this pharmacological activity. The pharmacophore is this blue shaded region. That's the part that interacts with the membrane receptor sites. So this picture in the middle here is just showing the active area of this particular drug. So what chemists have done is designed another drug that has the same active site but much easier, cheaper synthesis process, not as many steps, easier to make, cheaper all the way around as morphine. And as it turns out, by making this new molecule less complicated, the drug activity was changed slightly. Demerol isn't as effective as morphine, but at the same time, it's less addictive. The problem with morphine is it's very, very addictive because the brain gets used to having that chemical, that concentration of chemical that it normally wouldn't have, and then it can't self-regulate anymore. So morphine has some other side effects as well that Demerol does not have. And so this is just one example of a drug that's been completely synthetically made That shape is just like the original natural product, but it's cheaper. And did I say less morphine? I meant to say less addictive than morphine. Okay. And let's see what else I was saying about this. Okay, then the other thing about the opiates is that since they do work on the brain, you've probably heard of some illegal drug called heroin. Heroin is actually synthesized in labs. The morphine is extracted from the opium poppy plant, and then a couple of chemical reactions are done, and you can make heroin. And actually, making heroin is a really big business because once people start taking heroin, they get addicted to heroin, and so they'll do anything they can to keep feeding their habit. So it's expensive because it's not regulated and it's illegal, and people know that the people who are addicted have to have it. So this is a bad result of a drug that was meant, it was very, very awesome drug when it was first designed, morphine. It was a great way to control pain, but because it's so dangerous and so addictive, this type of pain reliever has to be, any of these types of pain relievers have to be given under a doctor's supervision. So they're much stronger than the analgesics we were looking at before. They have a completely different mechanism of action. They're addictive, and so that way they have to be monitored by doctors. And then also, as another side result, because they're such a powerful drug, there's an illegal drug market that has grown up around these types of medications, in which this kind of heroin is like worse. Whereas Demerol is better than morphine, less addictive, fewer side effects. Heroin is more addictive, more powerful, and horrendous side effects.